hello, and thanks for watching or listening to episode 32 of VIP Boxing's Bell to Bell podcast. Whether you're watching on YouTube or downloading on iTunes or Spotify, a nice review would be fantastic. Please, if you can do that. I'm Steve Lillis, and as usual, my co-host with me is John Evans. You okay, John?
Yeah, I'm good, Steve. And we've got probably Bell to Bell's favourite fighter here today, haven't we? You know,
proper
given
guest,
him a lot of props on this, haven't we?
Hey, mate, a proper fighter and a proper guest. I'm not just saying it because I've known him for years, but he is that. Former WBO Super-Welterweight champion, Liam Smith. Thanks for doing this, Liam.
Thanks for having me.
How are things now in light of what went down in Russia a couple of weeks ago against Kurbanov?
They're good, Steve. I'm good. You know, I'm healthy and I'm back in the gym, but the more when I think of it, gets to me a little bit, you know, when I think back to it. I thought beforehand I'd got a fair crack, and, you know, obviously going there, I thought you'd get thrown into the fact I was getting told I'll get a fair crack, and, you know, going there, I thought, you know, they might respect me that, you know, I'm a former world champion, and now when I look back to it, I was never winning. I was never, ever beating a Russian on Victory Day over there. You never even had the belt there for me to bring home, to be honest, you know, when I look back. If I knocked him out, I'd probably got disqualified for hitting him on the way down. But one thing that done me head in more than anything, never mind the judging, it was the referee, to be brutally honest with you. I thought one person who would be fair was the referee, because he's in the eye, you know, the judges are away from the ring and they can do whatever they want on a piece of paper, whereas I thought the ref would have been fine. And when if you look back at the fight, even just scrutinise the referee, it's shocking what he does. He warns Kurbanov 7 times for holding, but turns round and warns me for something. He says I'm wrestling, then he tells me to shut up, then he tells me does this. It's just like, I think he's just taking the attention off the fact he's warned Kurbanov 7 times. You know, you're meant to warn somebody 2 or 3 times, then it's a point, and he warns him 7 times for holding, but probably to take the attention off the fact he's warned him that many times. He warns him and then turns and warns me for, like, some of the action he does to me is crazy. Like, he just does that, or tells me to shut up, or he goes, and I think he's just like looking like he's warning both of us. But that's what one thing I thought. The first round was 100% a knockdown. I know Kurbanov was not hurt, but it was 100% a knockdown. You know, you thought he's made a mistake with his feet and he got punished for it. He was off balance and he's being punished on the way. I know he weren't hurt, but in the rule book it's a knockdown. And I just think, now I think, even if they scored the knockdown, they'd change the scorecards in some way. I was never ever winning.
You know how the sport works, Liam, don't you? And has it crossed your mind that Tim Tszyu's up in the rankings? You're a more attractive fight for Tim Tszyu, the England-Australia thing, a former world champion. Has it crossed your mind that an opportunity might come that way? I can't see Tszyu going to Russia, can you?
Of course, no, but you know, it's the fact, that's what, again, when I think of that, they've robbed me of that. Now, the WBO would have ordered me against Tim Tszyu. You know, that's a big fight, and it's, you know, it's a world title fight with no world title on the line. It's a huge fight. He's a big name now in Australia, and I'd have beat Kurbanov, and I'd have went there with a win under my belt and gone there as a big name former world champion. I think, obviously, I'm presuming it would have been in Australia. I think they're probably paying good money now. Tim Tszyu's building a name over there. I think his fights are on pay-per-view over there, and, you know, even if it weren't over there, that's what I mean. The WBO would have ordered that fight, so it would have went to purse bid, so it would have given Eddie a chance, it would have given, you know, MTK a chance, it would have given other people a chance to bid at that fight. And that's what, again, when I sit and think about it, they've robbed me of that opportunity. And, you know, there's all talks of a rematch. Kurbanov never fought outside Russia. I think, you know, they've robbed the bank and got him not guilty with that. You know, I was out the ring for 17 months. I never made 11 stone to 25 months. And I think, like I say, they're never going to get a better chance to beat me, and I still don't think he did beat me.
So what is the latest? Is there any, before we start this pod prop in earnest, Liam, is there any latest on where you might be fighting next, or what could happen?
You know, I'm told I'll definitely fight September. I think they're talking to Kurbanov and Titov, who's Kurbanov's promoter, as a possible rematch in Liverpool. from my point of view, I believe that when I see it. I believe that when I see it. But I've seen Jesse Vargas has piped up now, tweeting me again. That could come into play, but even that one, I believe that one when I see it. I've chased that fight for 2 years now since I got out the ring with Sam Eglinton. Eddie put that fight up in the air, and I've jumped on it and chased it, and it still never happens. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
All right, then we'll press on with this now. How this works, Liam? 3 minutes, 6 topics, 3 minutes each round. At the end of it, the 3 minutes. What happens, please, John?
The bell comes in, Liam.
Well,
right, okay. Over to you, round 1, John.
Yeah. Right, we all love a grudge, don't we? Whether it's football, whether it's an old player coming back to your team, whether it's in boxing, whether you got Morales, Barrera or Ben Eubank, it just adds that extra something, doesn't it? And that's the reason I'm looking forward to Wilder Fury 3. I think it's going to be mayhem. From the second we get together at that first press conference to the moment the fight ends, I think this is going to be, not stop sparking. I know we all want to see Joshua Fury, but you've got two of the biggest characters. You've got one of the biggest, the biggest puncher in the sport. You never know what Fury's going to do. They've both got reasons to be pissed off with each other. Wilder's inventing all these reasons why Fury's cheated him. Fury's just been done out of 60 million quid by having to fight Wilder. I think all the animosity is going to come to a head. I think the press conferences will be good, and I think the fight's going to be short and explosive, and I'm looking forward to it.
Liam?
Yeah, I think obviously there's now bad blood between it because Wilder's done the excuses, he's triggered the rematch thing, and he's put a stop to Joshua Fury. So, I think the fans are pissed off with it. Fury will probably be pissed off with it, but I would never ever write Deontay Wilder off. I think you're probably not going to get one fan who picks Wilder, but because the way Fury did bully him, but I just think he's got that punch power where I would not write him off in the slightest.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm only echoing what you said, Liam. I think it's such. Look, you know what? Wilder could be mentally destroyed. That was a belting in the last fight he took. We don't know how he's going to get in, how he's mentally going to react. But if he's bang on and right, and Fury will know that. He isn't stupid, Tyson. He'll be talking the talk about what we've seen the stuff about doing in one round. It's a really dangerous assignment when, the Joshua fight will be there in November. Joshua hasn't got an easy night against Usyk, but out of the two of them, I think Tyson's got the toughest fight.
Yeah. Well, Wilder's had 20 rounds to look at him, hasn't he? And he knows he can't outbox him. He knows he can't be pushed backwards. All Wilder can do is land that bomb and take him out. I think he'll gamble. I think he's going to go for it, and for however long it lasts.
I think people are saying, yeah, but he's if Fury with his best punch and he's got up, and I'm just thinking, yes, but there's sometimes going to be a time where you've got no choice. You cannot get up in the heavyweight division. You might not have a choice. You might not be able to get up, and Deontay Wilder punches that hard. He could trigger that.
And I think even was it the last one? I think it was the first round in the last one. He landed a right hand, then that Tyson's knees really went. Was that the first fight or the last one? Even in round 1,
in the first,
the first one, he really hurt Tyson with a right hand. It showed how good Tyson's chin was. It landed absolutely flush. I think it's a dangerous assignment.
Yeah, definitely. So do I.
There you go.
Round 2, over to you, Liam, and Josh Taylor.
Yeah, I thought it was a tough fight going into it. I thought a lot of people ripped Ramirez off. I've always rated Ramirez. I've seen him a lot through his career. I think he's a top fighter on his day. From my point of view, I thought he could have beat Josh Taylor. Both of them at the best, I thought was a very good fight. But I picked Taylor because at world level and in the big fights, Josh Taylor's always been consistent. He's performed every big fight he's had. He's performed. Pro Grace, all the big fights. I thought Baranchyk was a tough fight for him when he won the title. I've seen a lot of him sparring in the States. I just think every time his opposition has stepped up, he's performed, and that's why I picked Taylor. I thought it was a great fight beforehand, and I picked Taylor because of his consistency. And I think that's how it played out. I thought Ramirez boxed a great fight, but Josh Taylor was just that little bit ahead of him, and the knockdowns were vital. And I thought Taylor was a worthy winner, but I do think it was a competitive fight. I was very impressed with Josh's concentration levels. I thought he was brilliant, and he's become a superstar.
Yeah, look, I'm so pleased with him. I've got to know him a little bit last year, and this side of him come across then, and what he's got is something I think you've got in that ring, Liam. Look, all fighters have it, but there's certain fighters stand out as having. They've got a spiteful side to them.
Yeah,
and I think that is such an attribute he's got. I don't mean that in a nasty way. He's he is that bully not in a nice way. He just wants to hurt you, and I don't think there's a more spiteful fighter. I think you see shades of that when you've been boxing, Liam. You're one of those fighters that have got that spiteful nastiness about you.
Yeah, I just think some people like to fight and some people don't. Some people do it because they have to or they're good at it. I'm not the best at it, but I like it. You know what I mean? And that's where you get some people who do it because they have to do it. They don't know nothing else. I think you get some fighters who really do like it, and I think Josh Taylor's one of them.
Josh is loving it. He was loving it, wasn't he? The weigh-in, and when he was leaving the weigh-in and all the Mexicans were all over him. Some people might have ran to the lift, but Josh was in his element there, wasn't he? Right in the thick of all that action.
Yeah, I was with him last year, and I went to Glasgow for a day with him. We were coming back to Manchester when he was training in Manchester, and there was all sorts of troubles on the trains. And I was with Josh, and we had about 2.5 hours sitting in Nando's outside Carlisle station, and we were talking then, and it come across so obvious, and he was just straight face. He just loves fighting anywhere. Absolutely anywhere. He just wants to fight. Get a fight and get on that motorbike of his and go about 200 miles an hour. He is a proper crank. I think that's why I love the cranky fighters, and he's up there with them.
There you go, Steve. Hang on, your turn.
Yeah, staying on the Josh Taylor theme with Jack Catterall. He's the mandatories for Josh, and obviously the odds will be stacked against him. But you know what? Whether people can say he should be number one or not, he's boxed a catalogue of WBO international title fights to get that ranking. He stepped aside so this fight could take place on a promise, basically, that he'd get the win. Although he wasn't expecting Ramirez to fight him, but Josh said, "I'll come to Edinburgh Castle. We'll take him." I just think, look, we know what the big fight is. Crawford, two, big champions at lightweight, super lightweight and welterweight. And I just think it would be harsh on him if he never got his chance in a big fight like this, having waited his chance, number one for a long, long time, all those international fighters. And, the next contenders are Australian Liam Parrow, I know little about apart from looking at his box rec. Barbosa Jr., I just remember through beating Saucedo, who seems to be well matched. I just think, it's going to be hard to tip Jack Catterall to have a big chance against him, but I think he deserves his crack.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think he's been mandatory, and he's been number one for a while. I like Jack Catterall. I've boxed on numerous shows with him. I've trained alongside him. We do the same strength coach, and a lovely lad. And I hope to God, what, I do think he gets a shot. I do think that was agreed, and I think it'll come into fruition that the both with MTK. I think it's an easy fight to make for Josh's homecoming, and it'd be good for Jack to get his shot, and we get the shot at the big time to beat the man. And you can never say never in boxing. Obviously, Josh Taylor's the favourite, and rightly so. And Jack Catterall knows he'd be up against it. Josh Taylor's been getting better and better, but it'd be nice for Jack to get his shot.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be typical of the way Jack's career's gone, though, if Josh does vacate and Jack beats this Australian, and he's just a man that he wouldn't get his credit for winning the title, would he? If he beat this Australian who's next in the rankings, and it'd just be typical of the way Jack's career's gone. But if he does go up there, we had him on the show, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago, Steve? I don't think he'd be fazed by the atmosphere or anything. Jack's cold as ice, isn't he? But what a tough ask, but what a big fight. And like you said, it's just exactly what we've got to see Jack in, see if he can raise his game like Josh has.
Yeah, look, he won't be fazed by it. He was saying to us, I think he's almost been told if the fight happens, you're going to Edinburgh Castle September time. So I think he's prepared for that. I just get this fear when I see Crawford being mentioned, and with Crawford, no big fight on the horizon. It's arguably the biggest fight out there for Crawford that's possibly available in the next 7 or 8 months. That's what's feeling, giving me a bit of fear that Jack won't get this chance.
Yeah. Now, how good was it over the weekend when Pacquiao and Spence just came out of the blue? You know, it reminded me of when everyone was looking at the phones one night and it got announced that Khan was fighting Canelo and everyone nearly dropped the phones. And what a change, you know, from all the months we've had of absolute bollocks and bullshit about contract negotiations and purse splits and TV deals. You know, when we do the deals in the back room with just the people involved that need to be involved and then announce it, it just gives us the sport a lift, doesn't it? And I know everything's to do with drumming up publicity and getting eyes on things these days, but surely an announcement like Pacquiao Spence does more good for the promotion, more good for the sport than months of arguing and backbiting and interviews where everyone's just trying to prove each other wrong. And I wish it happened more often, you know, no nonsense. The people involved get around a table, sort it out, and then announce it when it's done. And I'm really pleased it happened.
I can't. Sorry, Liam, go on.
YouTubers out there, you missed the YouTubers out at the start of that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what a man. I just think what a man Pacquiao is. You know, win or lose, I just think, you know, the age of him, what he's done for the sport. And I see what Mayweather done towards the end of his career was like when he picked him and he manoeuvred his way to the 50. You know, I'm not knocking Mayweather, I say for me, one of the best ever. But Pacquiao just thinks, oh, he's 40, you know, he's away from boxing, hasn't boxed for a while, all his politician things, comes back, beats Taman, has another little break, and then Spence is the welterweight coming through, you know, one of the best pound in the world, and come on, I'll fight Spence, and you've just got to take your hat off to him. What a man and what a champion he's been.
Where do you think, I mean, I'll ask Liam this, where do you think it would put Manny in the all-time great list if he won this fight after, what was it, 24 months out, 42 years of age? And, you know, the Thurman win really was a little bit underrated. Still a brilliant win, the Thurman win at 40 years of age. Sensational. No one ever really, people say, well, the Thurman win was a good win. I think people forget how brilliant that win was against Thurman. But where do you think he'd be, Liam, on the all-time great list if he went and beat Errol Spence?
He's got to be right up there with achievements and legacy-wise if he goes and beats Spence. I don't mean ability-wise, like where you rank your Mayweathers and stuff like that, obviously, but achievement-wise and that's just unbelievable and puts him right up there. You know, could even, you know, be above Mayweather in the achievements.
Achievements, he'd have to be at.
I know Mayweather's beaten, but for him to come back at the age he's at and to beat Spence, who is in the prime of his career, puts him right up there.
What do you reckon, John? Where would you hold him?
God, achievements-wise, it's right up there, isn't it?
I'm thinking, you know, when you use the word achievement there, Liam, I thought, well, maybe it is the greatest achievement ever to have won world titles in 4 decades. Round 5. Liam, your division, the Super-Welterweights, and particularly Jamel Charlo, Brian Castano, and another unified champion.
Yeah, I think it's a very good fight. I think Castano is underrated. I've rated him for years. I've known about him for a long time since he was WBA champion. Good fighter, high work rate, short and compact. Obviously, Charlo's a very good fighter technically wise, and all of a sudden starting to be able to punch a little bit. Yeah, it's suspicious. So, but I think that's a very good fight, and I think it's more competitive than people think. I think people are just jumping on the Charlo bandwagon because of him and his brother are building big names now. But honestly, I think that's a very, very competitive fight. I probably do side with Charlo, but I think it's a closer fight than people will think, and be interesting to see what happens then. Because if Charlo wins, I don't think he defends the title again at 154. I think he moves at 160. So be very interesting. There
won't be a lot for him to prove, will there, at 154 if he wins? But we've
got big fights for him now. Maybe Tim Tszyu. To be backing him a lot and throwing money about, and I think his manager or promoter done it into saying they'll pay 10 million to bring, you know, one of the champions to Australia. So that could be a big money fight for him. But if that doesn't play out, then I can't see no big money fight for him at 154 after the Castano fight.
Yeah, I say I'm with Charlo. I'm quite big on Charlo in this fight. But what I'm pleased for Castano, because when he was had that interim belt, he missed out on the Andrade belt. He gave up the WBA, I think, and moved up. And that was the fight that he missed out on when he was interim champion, Castano. So I'm quite pleased for him to have got this chance, because, you know, He went and beat the Brazilian guy wasn't the greatest champion, is it Teixeira, but he beat him comfortably. So I'm just pleased for him to have got the chance, really. But I've got to be on Charlo quite big to win the fight.
Yeah, like Liam said, he's suddenly become very explosive and powerful, hasn't he? But I think it's an underrated division. There's been some belting fights, haven't there, recently? Look at Harrison and Charlo and all that carry on they had. When you were champion, Liam, and you were looking at unifications, who was the man you thought, well, you're still in the mix there. Who was the man you thought would be the toughest challenge at 154 from that group?
When I was champion, and it was close, we were back and forth making offers. Lara was one.
Yeah.
Was messaging me, and we were back and forth with a few offers, but and then obviously Castano had a draw with Lara. But for me, the unification fight what was on the Mount's head, Jared's head, that was always a fight that I thought stylistically was right up my street. And he was a big 154, but style wise, I thought it was right up my street. That.
And it would have been a great name-making fight, that, because he was getting a lot of attention, wasn't he? I remember you always fancied that as your fight. Final round, never-ending Nonito. We talked about Manny Pacquiao, another great who, he's like a Peter Pan of boxing. He's 38. If he beats Ubali, is it Nordine Ubali, the WBC bantamweight this weekend, he'll be have won world titles, different weights, in 3 different decades. And I just find him quite astonishing. He tried at featherweight, and when he got beat by Carl Frampton that night, I just find that after he's 20, I think he's 20, just over 20 years a pro, is where the fighters still find the fierce ambition after that time. It's something people like me as a journalist, I can't answer, because I just can't imagine that you can still find motivation to be a great when you're already going to be in the Hall of Fame first ballot 20 years afterwards when you've made fortunes. I just find it incredible. It's like you've been going 13 years, Liam, and you're talking to us tonight, and you've still got that hunger and desire. You said because you just love fighting. I wonder how fighters like Donaire can find it after 20 years to speak with such enthusiasm. Every time you ask them to speak, about boxing, you could see how much it means to him.
I'm different to them, Steve. That's where I take my hat off to them. They've got millions in the bank, I haven't, and that's where. But I take my hat off to even your Canelo's just trying to keep as busy as he is with the money. Mayweather, how he lives the life he lives with that money in the bank. Obviously not now, but towards the end of his career, how he was still living. But Nonito Donaire, one of the all-time greats. Thought he was on his way out after Frampton, got back down to the proper weight. I thought he looked very, very good against Ryan Burnett. I know the injury was there, but I'll be brutally honest with you, I thought he was on the way to beating Burnett anyway. I thought he was hating Burnett, and I just think an exceptional fighter, and I'd love to see him win because he's been one of my favourites over the years. Even though Nordine, I'll probably get stick for saying Nordine's NTK fighter.
I know, yeah.
I've seen him spar lots over in Spain with Lee McGregor. A very good fighter, but I'd love to see Donaire win.
Be incredible. It's just the enthusiasm of him. What's your opinion, John?
How about, we're talking about Pacquiao Spence there, a great effort. What about Nonito when he fought Inoue?
Incredible.
Talking about great final performances. I just hope that's not his final big swan song, his final big effort. I hope he's got one more in him and maybe can go out a world champion. But
so fast as well. It's like Frampton. If Donaire is on his way out a bit, it's a bad start to go against. I thought Frampton's on the slide a little bit, and then it's the worst type of opposition. It's all southpaw. Nordine's a southpaw, talented, and it's a tough ask.
Yeah, I just love him. I think, I remember, having him on during the box. If you look at his losses, he lost very early in his career. And I think of the other, six losses there. He lost very early in his career. And all the other 5 losses are against world champions. Which, if you've won weights at 4 or 5 titles and you've had 5 losses out of 6 against world champions, that's a legacy in itself that tells you how good you are and the company that you're mixing in. Nothing but the greatest respect for him. And as I said it before, I just love it when I see him interviewed on YouTube and on TV. And he's like a kid having his first fight still. Yes. It's quite incredible. As you say, hopefully you're not having to go for another 7 years to 20, Liam, to get millions in the bank.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Let's get you 3 or 4 big paydays, Liam. Yeah. Do you? I think, Beefy.
Getting a prize fighter when you're 37, Liam.
Oh, mate, I know. On the way back down, yeah.
So just one final question before you go, Liam. Would you ever consider moving back to domestic level? We were chatting about you on here the other week, and we were talking what would be for you at domestic level, and the name that come up was Anthony Fowler in Liverpool. And I think I might have questioned whether you'd go back to domestic level.
I go back to Steve. If I had nothing, nothing left. There's just loads of ways to look at it. If you want to. I want to know what's next. Do you know what I mean? If you just want to build the Fowler fight, you just build it. You know what I mean? If you want to offer me a fight away. But if you want to build it, go and build it to him. Don't build it to me. You know what I mean? I want to know what's next for me. And Fowler's not next, obviously. So if you want to build, someone like Fowler, build them up to me, then go and tell them that, look, we'll give you one fight, then we'll give you Liam Smith or something like that. Then. I'm not interested in that. I'm not in the world of that. I'm in the world of what's next for me, and I want the biggest fight next possible. Domestic level, I said to Eddie last year on them garden shows after the Cheeseman beat Eglinton, I'm making an Cheeseman in your back garden, and I got told where to go. It was only a joke, because I knew you wouldn't make it, but they're all battling out for a British title. I was British champion 6 years ago. So I know. I'm not really interested. I'm not looking at it. The only way maybe possible, one more win on that light middleweight belt, the belt of to keep. So that might interest me, but besides that, I'm not looking at any of them. My name, none of them mention my name, and I think obviously like that for a reason.
But I think also a lot of fighters, when your name's been mentioned, you've heard fighters sat before, and I think John had backed me up here. You've had like me. I've spoken to junior middleweights, and they've said what domestic level, and boxers have said, well, Liam Smith's already is at the level above now, and they have, so I think there's plenty of fighters out there who have disregarded you because of the level you're boxing at.
Yeah, of course, and that's understandable, but we'll have to see. Obviously, regardless of the situation, I'm coming off the back of a loss. You know what I mean? So we'll have to see what happens. We'll never say never.
Brilliant. Thanks, Liam.
You know me. Phone me for the fight and I'll ask you where and when.
No, you know what? I don't think that lost the other. I mean, it's terrible for you. You're a proud man. You're a fighting man. But I don't think that lost.
I don't think it should, but,
I think it was John was saying the other week, that result isn't like a disaster for your career. I don't think you've lost any kudos in boxing because of that defeat, as it's called.
Yeah, of course. I didn't think the same, Steve. But then I watched the interview with Eddie, and it did. And she says I lost. So the loss has hit home now. So if I'm coming off the back of a loss, then fire away and tell me what's next. And like I say, phone me for the fight, whoever it is, and I'll listen.
Liam, thanks very much for coming on and joining us tonight. Enjoy the rest of any football matches left this season. I see your pal score
left on a Sunday, not tonight, mate. We had a cup game last Monday.
You couldn't have jibbed it in the Warrington Rylands team the other night. That's the step you play in, mate.
I know two of the lads who they play up front for Ireland. The kid who scored the hat-trick and the other kid, Steve Milne. They play in the same league as me on a Sunday. I know them too well.
They had a couple bandits in that team. There was a guy playing there from in midfield the other day. He's a pal of mine, Rick Smith. He's only been there a couple months. Must have been because of this cup run. He plays step 3 football every week at Ashton and Radcliffe, but he's got a good job. And he went and joined Rylands for the Warrington for the rest of the season. We knew Wembley was on the cards.
It's Stefford's club, isn't it? Rooney's agent, Steff. I think it's his club.
Is it?
I think so, yeah. I think it's his club.
Yeah, he's a good player, him, at that. Well, certainly he's played a lot higher even a few months ago. Good player. John, thanks very much. I don't want to bore John with non-league football anymore. I could talk about it all night.
I love the non-league. I used to play my finals at Ashton United. Sorry.
Oh, up road here at Erskine Cross, yeah.
Droylsden. Used to be the Sunday League Cup finals used to be at Ashton and Droylsden.
Did they? I didn't know that. I thought it was always at Curzon. All right then, fellas. Thanks very much. Thanks everyone for listening. And Liam, hope something good news comes up very soon.
Thanks, mate. Nice one. Thanks, John. Thanks, Steve.
For all boxing
Info, news and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north. Click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.